we asked people to tape, characters, impressions. But that process is heartbreaking for me because this show has shown the world that there are so many talented Black women out there, but we haven't even scratched the surface. This is just a reminder that your excellence doesn't always match up with the job that's available.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't make your excellence anything less. So, I literally wrote like tearful emails to people that I couldn't hire. And they were like, screw you, lady, a check would have been better. But,
This lady I'm bringing to the stage is a fantastic, writer, actress, producer, showrunner, all of these fantastic things. The last time we were together, we were in Austin, so it's nice to be back around white people we can trust again. So, start clapping right now, give me some energy, and give it up for the phenomenal Miss Robin Thede. Keep clapping. Keep on clapping.
I'm moving slow.
She moving. She here. She did.
I hear her there.
You hear her there. Okay, you there.
I think they told me this one. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. Hi, everybody.
Yes.
You guys are the first. Uh-oh, is my mic on? Hello? I'm loud. Not that I need a mic, honey. You guys saw you were the first audience to see anything from season 4. Congratulations. I hope you enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
I'll explain what was going on in the second part in a moment.
Absolutely. And give it up for big budget. Okay. Did the budget get bigger season 4? Okay. It looks like it did.
Well, we make it look that way.
You made it really look like it did. Shout out to HBO. Okay. So we're here to have a little conversation with Robin. Question number 1. Congrats on the Daily Show last night. Did everybody see
thank you.
Robin on the Daily Show last night? With the orange, reclaiming the orange.
Yes, I said we need to reclaim that color. Absolutely. Trump is going to jail. We can wear orange again.
You reclaiming red as well?
I'm reclaiming red. Yes, I have a vendetta against tomatoes that I'm just working out. No, it was really fun. And then today I was on The View and I cried. I got to meet Whoopi Goldberg. I was very excited.
Oh my gosh.
She was the first Black woman I saw playing characters. In her one-woman show on Broadway, they aired it on TV, and I saw her playing Fontaine and, the little 7-year-old girl who puts the shirt on her head and, contemplates being white, but then falls back in love with her blackness. I was like, wow, that's the first time I ever saw that. And then I cried like a baby. And my mother was texting me. She's like, oh, that was so sweet. How embarrassing.
Yeah. Is your mother a stoic Black woman?
No.
No, okay.
No, she clowns me incessantly. I mean, it's the torture you need to be a comedian.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's great.
So, one of my questions was one of your influences is obviously Whoopi Goldberg.
Absolutely. She was she was the first Black woman I saw playing characters on TV. And then Kim Wayans on In Living Color, and obviously, we got to have on the show, which was like the joy of a lifetime. Also, on SNL, there was only Denitra Vance for one season, and then of course, Ellen Clayborn.
Yeah.
Ellen Clayborn, who held it down, and of course Eddie and Garrett Morris and all those amazing people. But the few Black women I got to see playing characters growing up really influenced so much for me.
Yeah.
And it was really dope because now I've met them all,
Ooh.
and they've all been very cool and very supportive. So that's dope.
Your parents let you watch SNL?
They did.
Every weekend?
Yeah. My dad. This is really a full circle moment for me because we're in the Robin Williams Center, and my dad named me after Robin Williams.
Shut up! We ain't know that.
Which is crazy. So, and he let me stay up Saturday nights and watch Saturday Night Live up until Weekend Update, and then I had to go to bed. So I watched it for years. I never missed an episode until I was fully an adult.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun. It was fun to have that escape, right? Like we grew up really poor. I grew up in a trailer park in Iowa, and then spent summers on the south side of Chicago. And for me, it was always about finding that escape that can also serve to make people laugh, right? For me, it was an escape from kind of the day-to-day, but it was also something that got a reaction. When you hear that first laugh, you're like, oh, wait, and I can get paid for this?
Absolutely.
Oh, this is sick, yeah.
And then when you get paid for the laughter, my goodness.
That didn't come for a long time, but I knew you could get paid.
Yes. So you always knew you wanted to do this?
Yeah, I did, and I took a lot of detours, right? I was in writing for stand-ups for years. I was writing in daytime and late night, and And but all through the while, I had done a bunch of sketch shows with David Allen Greer, with Afion Crockett, with Frank Caliendo, like all these great people, Ted Danson, George Wendt. And so, you know, that was dope, but none of them stuck. Sketch is really, really hard. Anybody in here do sketch? Yeah, dope. So you know the struggle. Like, it's really hard, and people have very specific opinions. Like, everybody thinks their era of SNL was the best. You know what I mean? And like, there are people that, you know, gravitate towards certain seasons of the shows or cast members, but that's the joy of it, is that you really get a chance to, you know, have people find the things that they get to personalize, and the characters they get to repeat the catchphrase of, and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So it's really fun.
You have a favorite season of SNL?
Oh, not one season in particular. I was just a really big fan of Will Ferrell and Tina Fey and Kristen Wiig and those folks, but
that was that golden era. I liked it. They had a couple golden eras.
They've had a bunch of golden eras, and I think that they've done it, you know, right in introducing the new waves. And I know I'm not stuck on one era. I think there's good in you know, lots of the different eras.
Yeah. Okay, so you touched a little bit on struggles growing up. So as you started getting into the industry, what are some of those fun jobs you had?
You know what's crazy? So I really only ever had 2 real jobs. I've been very lucky. So I worked at Chick-fil-A when I was 14.
In Chicago?
No, this is in Iowa. And I would get free food. And so that was dope because I could eat all the food I wanted before or after my shift. And we were poor, so like this was perfect. And then in college I worked at the Gap. And then that was it. And I never had another real job. I did copywriting like from home for like kind of entertainment related things. So I guess that was a kind of a non-industry job. But then I took a one-woman show out to LA when I first came out in 2002. And Mike Epps' manager scouted me and saw me. He was like, you need to come write for Mike. And we did a sketch show for Comedy Central that never saw the light of day. Nothing to do with me. It was very funny. You know, shit happens. Some TV shows just don't air. But yeah, it was dope. Like, this is so crazy to me because my feet are nowhere near the ground. And also, I have on these like stripper shoes, which is great. But like with pajama pants, it's fashion. So I think, yeah, and then, yeah, so that progressed, and then I started writing on TV shows and acting, and I kind of was always able to pay my bills like that. I was a stand-in, though. I did do that on a show called All of Us. Okay. But for me, that was like acting experience. I got to like I was the only stand-in, so I stood in for the men, the women, and like the kids. This probably violated some SAG rules. Whoops. Well, luckily UPN doesn't exist anymore. But I had to play the little boy. They brought me in to stand in for the little boy, so I had to put on knee pads and like be on my knees because he was like 5. I don't know how I got this job, honestly. I have no idea how I got this job.
SAG ultra low budget.
Yeah, it was a pretty decent budget, but yeah, I don't know how that happened. And then I ended up standing in for like Lisa Ray and Elise Neal. And then the director, Stan Lathan, came to me at one point and said, okay, so we want you to be background, like featured background in this scene. You're gonna get to be on camera. And he thought he was giving me the chance of a lifetime. And I looked him dead in his face, and I said, only if I have lines. Ooh. And he goes, who do you think you are? And I said, someone who's gonna have lines on the show if she's gonna be on camera. And I said it with like a laugh, but like he could tell I was serious. And he goes, all right, well, I guess you won't be in the scene then. And I said, okay. 2 weeks later, they wrote me into the show. I did 6 episodes. It was crazy.
Okay.
It was crazy. Yeah.
Okay.
But it was like, I just had to have that moment of courage to stand up for myself because I didn't want to be a stand-in forever, and I definitely didn't want to do background work forever. And so I was like, no, like this is my chance. And they really liked me, and I was standing in for everybody. They owed me, so.
Absolutely.
You know, it wasn't like massive guest stars, but I had multiple lines on 6 different episodes. It was great. Like it was such a good, working on a multicam for 2 years like that, I learned so much of what to do and what not to do. You know, and those kind of experiences as an actor are so invaluable. So it really taught me also about how to treat crew. Mm-hmm. And I watched the people who really treated the crew well and who knew their names. And then your fellow cast members. I watched the people that got along, the people that didn't get along. When a guest star came in, I watched how they acted, because that's always a tricky thing, right? It's like when you start, you're like, okay, I'm doing background. I got a co-star. I got a guest star. Now I'm a series regular. And I watch how the guest stars, I remember Taraji Henson came in. This was way before she was like Benjamin Button, Taraji Henson.
The baby boy Taraji.
Yeah, yes. No, not even.
Okay.
When was that movie? When did Baby Boy come out? Early
1982.
2000s? No, you stop. Maybe Baby Boy was out, maybe. But, I mean, this would be like 2007.
Yeah.
So I don't remember when. Baby Boy was right before that. But anyway, so she came and she showed up. She learned everybody's name. She was kind to everybody. She looked everybody in the eye. She shook their hands. This was obviously well before COVID. And she was just, she knew her lines. She knew her marks. She was friendly, but not doing too much. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to show up with like cookies for everybody. That's like weird. It's like doing too much. It's like thirsty. But she was like very chill. And then when it was her time to do it, she was on. And when it wasn't, she was gone. And that was like, I remember watching her going, that's how you guest star on a show.
Yeah, she's a Virgo like me, so.
Yes,
Yeah.
we love Virgos. Magnetic, honey. You know where to get in, where you fit in.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that was dope. So like, I always tell actors too, like, you gotta pay attention when you're on a set to what everyone's doing, not the star. Because the star, you're like, okay, great. But you gotta watch how the director moves, how the AD moves, how the crew moves, how the crew interacts with the people, and you can tell who the crew likes and who the crew does not like.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And that's key, because guess who's on the crew? The gaffer and his whole team, he or she, their whole team, who are lighting you.
Absolutely.
And they will mess you up if you're not kind to them.
Okay,
They should.
putting a button in what not to do, because we are going to get back to
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I saw a lot of what not to
But
do.
the fact that you're
Not
talking
on that
about,
show, and a lot of other shows.
Yeah, the fact that you're talking about confidence, because I'm 40 now, very
Amen,
excited.
let's
Yes,
go.
shout out to the 40s.
Yes.
It's fantastic. I'm getting more confident with every single day. But you seem like a person that's always been confident. That's not true. Is that true?
I think it's true.
Okay.
I think it's true, but in different ways.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, my confidence was, I never felt bad about myself, right? Like I was never like, oh, I don't deserve things. Because my parents told me stupidly that you can do anything and you can be anything, and I believed it, right? Because I was like, we didn't have shit, so like, why can't I be anything? I guess I didn't think we don't have shit, so I can't be anything. I was like, well, we don't have anything, so what do I have to lose by trying, you know? But I think for me, I had a stutter as a kid. You still kind of hear it sometimes. You guys might like go back and see it sometimes, like in interviews. So I still have it a little bit, but I had it really bad as a kid, and I was seeing a speech pathologist and all this stuff. And, you know, so that, my outward confidence wasn't fully there. I didn't even start talking until I was 4.5. And I spoke in full sentences, because what happened was, because I had the stutter, but my parents didn't know yet, my older sister was 15 months older than me. We shared a room, and at night she would teach me how to write and read and talk since I was a baby. Like, because, oh, by the way, she started talking and walking around 9 months. Like talking fully and walking at 9 months. She was like crazy advanced. So by the time she was 15 months and I came along, she was like full-blown adult. And so she would teach me at night, and she would say, don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody, because they don't speak this language. And I was like, in hindsight, that's insane.
Yeah. She
At the
gaslighting
time,
you.
totally gaslighting me. I was like, are we aliens? Like, what is it? But I don't know any better. So apparently I knew how to speak. First time we were separated, I was 4.5 years old. I was sitting at the table, and I had a fever. So we were supposed to go see my grandmother. And my dad was like, well, I'll take the older sister. And my mom was like, I'll stay home with Robin. And my mom's washing the dishes. I can still see it in my mind to this day. And she's washing the dishes with her back to me. And I need a glass of water. So I say, can I have a glass of water? Like that. I've never spoken a word. They had taken me to multiple doctors. The doctors were like, she has the ability to speak. She's just not doing it. And I said, I never had a goo goo gaga. I never had a like that. I never had any of that. I just spoke. And she dropped the dish, and it crashed on the floor, and it scared me, and I didn't speak for another like 3 weeks. She goes, you can talk! And I was like, ugh. Because I thought I was gonna get in trouble.
If you talked.
If I talked, or they just wouldn't understand me, or I was an alien. I didn't know what it was. So then, of course, now they say I've been making up for lost time.
Oh.
But yeah, but so
I
the
love-
confidence came at that, like the confidence started to build there. And then once I got rid of the stutter, it really started to build. And now I just call it reckless confidence. Like I just believe in myself no matter what anybody tells me. Because so many people have said, you can't do that. Or I was gonna move from Chicago to LA, I wasn't in SAG yet. They were like, you can't move there if you're not SAG yet. You know, just all the things that people tell you
Yes.
you can't do. I just didn't care about because I had nothing to lose. I had been down my whole life. No, but I mean,
All your life you had to fight.
all my life I had to fight.
Yes. But also you and your sister are giving me like Nettie and Celie.
I mean, very
SKY
much.
Sky.
Very
Like,
much. Very
it's
much.
so beautiful. I love that.
The light skin color purple. The color lavender.
I'm
Yes.
allergic now. Okay. Love it. Okay, so I would think it would be very risky to look Stan Lathan in his face.
Oh my
and
God,
say,
who
I ain't
the
gonna
fuck was I to do that? Yes.
So
The
that's,
ball's on me. I don't know where I get that from. I really don't.
you don't know what, is it a parent? Is it a
Yeah, I
godparent?
think my
an
parents, again, they told me I could be anything and I believed it. You know what? And I was just sick of being broke.
Right.
Like poverty will do a lot to you. Like, I was like, yeah, no, I want to talk. I want to make more money. And I'm not trying to do this forever, you know?
Right.
But it didn't come without him knowing I had been through Second City, him knowing I had done a one-woman show that had won all sorts of awards. Like, they knew my pedigree
Right.
and that I was on the come up. So it wasn't out of the blue, you know?
Okay.
Don't go do that, please.
Right. Yeah, I was like, is that good advice?
And I've been working there like, gosh, probably almost a year at that point.
Okay,
So,
good,
yeah,
good,
yeah,
good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You had a
yeah.
rapport with him.
I had a rapport, but
Have
it
a
was still,
rapport.
I was still on that limb, baby. I was
Okay.
definitely like out of pocket.
He was toting the line.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he still tells me that, he goes, I couldn't believe you. You were a sassy little, I couldn't believe you talked to me like that. Even to this day, yeah, but it worked.
Okay, so that was, I consider a risky career move.
For sure.
Anything since that brings to mind, like any creative?
Oh, a million risky moves?
Absolutely.
Every move has been a risky
Okay, yes.
move. Every move has been a risky move. And, you know, after the Nightly Show, so I was head writer on the Nightly Show with Larry Wilmore, and we got canceled very unexpectedly, and it was right before Trump got elected, which felt like, psh, why then, you know? And I said, okay, I met with some companies. I was like, what am I gonna do? Like literally, they came to us on Monday and said, you guys are done on Thursday. And we're like, but I have a field piece next week. Like, and they're like, you definitely don't. So, and I mean, I guess you have to do it that way. They can't like give you advance notice, otherwise the show is gonna suck. Like, especially on our last night, we were just doing stuff we were never supposed to do. It was really fun. But yeah, so everybody was just kind of in shock. And so the next week, I started taking some meetings, and then I was thinking like Larry was very encouraging, Jon Stewart was very encouraging, like do your own thing, like maybe it's time for you to do a show. And I was like, I don't know, I feel like I need to like get my legs under me on another late night show as another correspondent, like maybe one more time. And I randomly, do y'all like name dropping stories or should I leave the names
I love
out?
name dropping stories.
Name drop?
Oh.
Drop them,
Drop them names.
drop them, okay.
I hate when people pretend they don't like
Yeah,
names.
that's why I
I'm like,
asked.
come on, why
Well,
are
some
you in the
people are like,
industry?
wow, drop those
Yeah.
names, but
Yeah.
y'all with the shit, so that's great.
With it.
So I, Questlove called me, who I call Amir, because Questlove is, it's weird to call somebody that. And so Amir calls me, I've known him for years, and so he calls me and he's like, come on, we're going out, we're kicking it. I know you're in your house upset about the Nightly Show, we're going out. And so I'm like, great, let's go. So a group of us go and we show up at this theater and I'm like, where are we? What are we doing? Music starts playing. Dave Chappelle comes out on stage. And I'm like, oh, we're at a private Dave Chappelle show in a room not much bigger than this. And he proceeds to give an insane show, no written material, literally just does crowd work the whole night. And I'm leaving going, this is so inspiring. Like, this is like really dope. Like it was, you know, this was like a decade ago. And so, no, it's just 2016. And so, yeah, I was just like, okay, this is inspiring me. Like I think I will go try to be and I had an offer to be a correspondent on a show that never even ended up going. It doesn't even matter who the host was, but I was not right for that show. But I think I was desperate for a job, which didn't make any sense because I was doing fine, but I was scared, right? And we do a lot of things out of desperation. And so, I was like, I'm gonna take this job. We go backstage and I meet Chappelle And he's like, you're dope. I love you on the nightly show. I was like, wow, you watch it? He's like, yeah, I do. He was like, what are you doing next? He knew the show had been canceled. And I said, oh, I think I'm gonna go be a correspondent. So-and-so has a new show. He goes, why would you do that? And I was like, because I need a job and I need to stay on TV and I need people to get to know me, get to know who I am. And he said, you need to host your own show. And I was like, bruh, you can say that.
Right.
Dave Chappelle, like, you can say that. I cannot say that. People still pronounce my name Thede. Like, until they know it's Thede, I can't really do that. And he was like, no, you need to do it. Don't take that job. He was like, I'll call them myself. Like, don't take that job. And I was like, okay. And I was like, and I leave there going, that's great. Dave Chappelle believes in me. And then I go, well, I'm laughing because then the reality hit. How the fuck am I gonna do my own show? Like, who do I call? Just call a network? Hello, would you like a show from me? Like, I had never really sold anything at that point. I had really come up writing for other people. It wasn't really till Larry said, we need to hear your voice that is this story too long? I'm almost done.
Nope.
Okay. So,
I didn't hear.
Okay, good, perfect. So I was in the car that night and Amir was like, I really think you should do your own show too. And then I get dropped off, the rest of the group goes home. I'm thinking, how am I gonna do this? And the universe always finds a way, God finds a way, whatever you believe. The next week I already had a meeting, this is what I was starting to say earlier. I already had a meeting set up with Jax Media, which is a studio that they made Inside Amy Schumer, they made Samantha Bee, they made a ton of stuff, right? Broad City. And so I had a meeting with them and I met the two owners of the company, the owner and his wife, who now co-owners. And they said, what do you want to do? We loved you on the nightly show. We just wanted to meet with you. We know it's only been a couple days. You probably haven't had time to think about it. And they said, we have this show with unnamed white comedian. Do you want to show run that? And I was like, no. No. And they were like, well, what would you want to do? And I was like, I don't know. I'm still kind of trying to figure it out. Like, I had this job to be a correspondent on such and such, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do it. I still hadn't told them no. And they go, well, okay, well, keep us posted. We all stand up to like leave. And then Lily Burns, one of the heads of the company, turns to me and says, well, if you did your own show, like, what would it be like? Like, would you want to do your own show? And at that moment I go, you dummy. They're literally interested in making your own show, and you were like, how do I sell my own show? This is the time.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I knew what I wanted to do. I was like, well, if I had my own late night show, it would be a mix of politics and pop culture, so I could mention, Trump, but at the same time, liken him to Cardi B, because I feel like that's where you can meet people at that intersection of politics and pop culture. I think late night's gotten too heady. And I'm like giving all of this stuff. It's like clear that I know the exact show I want to make. And the whole time I've been telling myself and others, I don't know what I would do, and but it poured out in that moment, preparation, meeting opportunity.
Yes.
So they go, so Tony Hernandez, the founder of Jax, goes, okay. And I go, okay, what? And he goes, let's make it. And I was like, no, don't even clap yet. That's not even the craziest part. Save your applause. So I go, okay. And he goes, huh. And I was like, what? And I'm thinking he's gonna be like, never mind, I'm
Right.
He goes, huh. I go, what? He goes, we should get somebody attached. We should get somebody attached who's gonna give it legitimacy. And he goes, we just did top 5 with Chris Rock. You wrote with Chris, right? And I go, yeah. He goes, I'm gonna call him. All right, I'll talk to you tomorrow. And so I'm like, I think I just sold a show. And so I leave the room and I go to brunch with a really good friend of mine, Brittany Scott Smith, who's an incredible director, amazing. And I'm at lunch with her and her husband and I get a phone call and it's from Tony Hernandez. And I go, I gotta take this. And I answer the phone and he goes, Chris is in. We're gonna shoot the pilot in a month. Hire writers. I was like, how is this happening? Now you can clap.
Yeah.
So then Chris Rock and I talk and he's like, I'm like, cool, I'm gonna hire writers, I'm gonna hire a correspondent. And he goes, nope, it's gonna be just you. Yeah. Now I'm scared shitless all over again. I'm like, just me? Like even on the nightly show and the daily show, they have correspondents. It's like, no, people need to get to know you. You have opinions, people need to hear them. So flash forward, we did 24 episodes of the show. It was really great. I'm so proud of it. People like Z-Way and Alex English and Janelle James and all these amazing people got to work on the show. I was lucky enough to work with them, let me be clear. And then, they're all crushing it. And then that show got canceled and Issa called me. This is how life works and this is how things are meant to be. Issa Rae calls me, who had auditioned for the nightly show years before Insecure, or the year before Insecure, and Larry said, we're not gonna hire her here. I'm gonna develop this scripted show with her. You know, he co-created Insecure with Issa. So he's a genius. But I fought for Issa. I was like, no, that girl's special. She should be on the show. He was like, not for this. And so Issa calls me and goes, I know your show got canceled today, but what are we doing together? And I was like, actually, I'm trying to do this like Black lady sketch show, like a sketch show with Black ladies. And I sold it somewhere else. I had done this while I was doing the rundown, but I wasn't gonna be on it. And again, me blocking my own blessings sometimes. Like, I'm like, I'm not gonna be on it. But I was doing another show, to be fair. But I was like, the money's not right. I think I wanna, I don't know if it's gonna happen. She goes, bring it to HBO. And I had met Amy Gravitt, the head of comedy, like months before. So like all these things lined up without me having to push the boulder up the hill. They really happened when I relaxed and when I believed people when they said things, right? That Chappelle thing rung in my mind when they said, what would your show be? I was ready. I wasn't like, no. Like I did step into that. It took me a couple days, but I stepped into it. And the same thing with Sketch Show. Well, I knew that was gonna be great already, but I was like, yeah, okay, let's take it to HBO. And then HBO snatched it up, and I was hiring writers within 2 months, and we were on the air 9 months later, which is crazy.
Yeah, that is
crazy.
That's very
And
quick.
then after season 1, bam, 5 days before shooting season 2, global pandemic. And then we're the first show back shooting. We're triple masked, no vaccines, trying to make a hard comedy sketch show. And then cut to now, season 4 premieres next Friday. Like, we've been through it. It's been so dope. But like the journey of it, I say all that to say, because I don't usually share this much detail, but like, y'all get it. But I think it's cool to hear like the real points in the story where things can change. Because for me, it's in those moments of the fork in the road. It's in those moments of the pivot that you really make your mark. And that confidence is what comes into it. It wasn't that I wasn't confident. I just thought, I need one more thing under my belt. Mm-hmm. And the truth is, you really don't. I have been doing it at that time for 15 years. Like, I didn't need any more notches on the belt, or anything else under my belt, whatever that's not a great phrase. Under your belt? Under your belt is just your pants. Anyway, so that confidence, I think, kicked in just in time for me to step forward and say those things and embrace those opportunities when they came. And I'm really glad they didn't come at 22.
Absolutely.
When I first got here. If somebody would have said, do you want to make a sketch show when I was 22, it would have been trash. It would have been so bad. I don't know what the sketches would have been about. I don't know, early 2000s R&B. I don't know. Just all sorts of, I don't know. Okay. But yeah.
All right, so you've been in so many different types of writers' rooms, so slight pivot, because we are both card-carrying members of SAG and the WGA. Hashtag dues. So you've written for, the Queen Latifah Show.
Yes.
You've written for The Nightly Show with Larry Wilmore, yes. Real Husbands of Hollywood, yes. And of course, your own show. So those are 4 different types of writer
and there's
rooms.
Way more than that.
I know, but I'm just saying those examples of just being like
different.
A daytime talk show versus
late night versus scripted.
Yeah, versus scripted, improv. So
yep.
is there any type of walking through the process of those different types of writers' rooms you could share with us?
I think for me, I've always approached everything as a performer. Mm-hmm. So for the first 7 years in this business, I did not claim myself as a writer, even though I was writing everything I was performing, especially in live theater and live sketch and improv. Or not improv, but live sketch. But I think embracing the duality of that and approaching writing as I wanted to perform the roles, or also as I wanted to see them being performed, was really important. So I think I approached it with that energy regardless of the genre. But what I was always hired for in those rooms were jokes.
Yeah. So
that was the constant, right? So I was always known as a great joke writer. Like, I did stuff with Funny or Die, put early YouTube videos. I was known as the monologue queen. Like, if you were hosting an award show, I wrote your monologue. And like, I was punching up jokes. If there was a commercial break, I was like, here's 3 jokes about things that just happened, like within 90 seconds. Like, I was that girl. I wrote for Mike Epps, Kevin Hart, Anthony Anderson, Wayne Brady, like Chris Rock, like so many people over the years. And they trusted me. I was like the only girl around, because I was a girl at that time, like early 20s. But I knew how to craft jokes because I had studied it, right? My father didn't name me after Robin Williams for no reason. Like, he trained me. all of that watching of all of that. Caroline's on Broadway, rest in peace, but used to have a show on Saturday nights that would air on a different channel, but before Def Comedy Jam. And I would watch like just all sorts of comedians, everybody from Bernie Mac to Judy Tenuta. I watched everyone. And I studied it and I learned their voices. And that made me a writer before I even knew I was a writer. So my thing was like, I could watch 5 minutes of anybody's set and write in their voice immediately after that. So, and I still have that. But it's because I'm a mimic and I'm an impressionist and I'm a sketch comedian who embodies characters, and my writing was the same. It was like, I didn't realize that all those skills were transferable. So for performers, I always think if you don't write, think about how you attack character, and you might actually write. Because for me, that's how I was like, oh, I guess I am a writer, because when I'm performing these things, and improvising is obviously live writing, but when I'm writing for other people, once I started embracing all of that and writing for other people, it was like, oh, okay, I approach this as I do anything as a performer, and that really helped me figure out the method. Right, so I would look for keywords, I would look for inflection, I would look for tone. I look for where people, okay, this is really nerding out, but I feel like you guys will appreciate this. I look where comedians put their tongue, their teeth, their lips, their mouth when they do the jokes. Dave Chappelle does this thing where he takes the mic and he taps his leg. He does that to signal the audience to laugh. So if the laughs aren't big enough, he does it.
Yeah, it's a cadence.
It's a cadence. Yeah. Chris Rock is a repetitive performer. He repeats the joke until he gets the laugh he wants, and it trains you. He trains you as the audience. It's genius. I watched Bernie Mac. Bernie Mac, his trick, he was a storyteller. He was in the Richard Pryor vein. He was in the Red Fox vein. But Bernie Mac, what he would do is he would put you off kilter. This is gonna sound weird, but Stephen Colbert does this in a very similar way. They are not similar comedians. But what they do is they'll trick you into a punchline. So they'll lead you down this path and then throw you back that way. So that the laughs are always like, oh, like you didn't know it was coming. And I remember watching Bernie going, I had no idea he was gonna do that, you know? And then of course he had famous catchphrase of, I'm scared of you motherfucker. So, you know, catchphrases are always great too. But I like people that jolt me into a laugh. I like to be surprised by laughter. And I can go on and on and on. I'm very, like, obviously Jonathan Stewart is an encyclopedic sort of comedian. He can break things down. John Oliver follows in his footsteps, and will just take you through the education of a joke. So when you get there, you feel like you earned it. You got your degree in that joke. And he wasn't always that way. He wasn't always that way before The Daily Show. He honed a whole new style of comedy that I hope he gets enough credit for. He honed an entire genre of comedy we did not have before him. So that's how I approach things, because as a performer, that's how I break down scripts. So I break down scripts in terms of character backstory, I make up all those things, but then I also think about when I have to put it on its feet, it's also how I can play 30 plus characters in 6 episodes, fast. Because I'm show running a Black Lady sketch show. I'm writing, I'm producing, I'm in all the things. Everyone has to come to me to get an answer to be able to do their job. And so, mind you, I have to memorize 150 pages of dialogue after we write in the 5 weeks before, while we're prepping and I'm on location scouts and I'm holding meetings and all of that. Memorize 150 pages of dialogue, play 30 plus characters, and do it at a high level. You know, so, but that's how I can jump into characters really quickly. I think I played 120 characters in 4 seasons. And so, but again, that came from years of doing sketch and improv. And, but every season, I have to find new ways, new characters. I can't go back to the old ones I used to perform on stages. Like, I've burned all those out at this point. Yeah. So I had to get into my body. Okay, she does this thing where her ear hurts when she performs. So she's just, you know, something's here. And it starts that small, right? And then it's like, okay, what is her voice? What is this? What is the dialogue giving me? What are the context clues? So I'm not telling you anything actors don't already know, but the process, all that work, everything you're doing is what anyone else is, well, anyone worth their salt is also doing. But I think sometimes people say, oh, you make it look easy. And I'm like, it's not easy. It's super hard work. It's super hard work. None of it has, I mean, there are people like that definitely make it look like they just woke up out of bed and are funny. And I think some people are. But I enjoy the work. I really enjoy the work. So, yeah.
Do you have a memorization technique that you
I
go
do.
to?
Yes. So I'm a sight memorizer. And so
What, photographic memory?
I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that because then somebody's gonna be like, "Remember when we met?" And I'll be like,
Well, that's different. Facial
so,
recognition.
No. I know, right? So if I see this, right? So I see all this on the page. I look at it as a whole, and then I go through and I'll just run the lines, right? Run them a bunch of times. But I've already committed where all of these lines are on this page.
Right.
And so I'm the annoying actor that knows everyone's lines and mine. So, and even when I forget mine, I never forget theirs. And so they go, "What's my line?" And the script supervisor, I'm always like, "It's, this chair was meant for you." It's like so annoying. But, so I had to learn how to let them do their jobs too. So yeah, I just overachieving, I think. But yeah, I don't memorize in terms of like, I don't memorize in terms of emotional arc, which some people do. I memorize in terms, punchlines are never hard for me to memorize. I never forget them, but in the moment, after the sketch is over, I do. But punchlines are always easy because those are the treasure that I'm waiting to get to. But yeah, it's a lot of sight memorization, but then context clues. And once I know the character, especially on our show, once I know the character, we throw the script out after we have the first pass done anyway. And so then we can it makes you a better improviser because you already know this character backwards and forwards. So really, it's not the memorizing 150 pages, it's developing those three-dimensional characters over that short amount of time.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And you've had an outstanding career arc, obviously. But we talk about ups and downs. So like one of the down things is we are pending a writer's strike right now.
We are?
Yes.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, I'm sorry. She
Acting.
good. That girl is good. Can you take me back to 2008, Robin?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
I was in that strike too, baby. So 2007, 2008, I was coming out of being a stand-in. I had gotten a pilot on Comedy Central. I was the queen of pilots that never went. So I had gotten a pilot. I was like, bitch, I'm about to be rich. And cut to that pilot didn't go. And then immediately a strike happened. Like a bunch of pilots just died because they knew a strike was coming. And that strike was like, what, 8 months? It was long.
Yeah, it was 8 months.
And so 2007 going into 2008, I went to a party that someone drugged me to. I hate networking. I hate it so much. I'm sorry, it's just not my thing. I'm awkward as hell. Like somebody's like, "Give me a card." And I'm like, "I don't have a card." Like, yeah, just really weird. That was back when people had cards, sorry. So business cards were a thing that people had. But have your name on them. So I got pulled into this like event that my friend was going to, and I randomly met a casting director for E! News, and I had a degree in broadcast journalism from Northwestern. Sorry, I keep it in my mic. And she was like, "You're funny. Do you want to come be a correspondent on E! News with Ryan and Juliana?" And I was like, "What? No." And my friend was like, "Girl, you know you broke, you better do it." And I was like, "Wait a minute," on second thought. So one of the correspondents was out having a baby. And so I got to do that for like, I don't know, until the strike was over. It was the only on-camera job I could do while not scabbing, right? So, because it wasn't WGA protected, it was technically news. But I was out in front of Cedar Sinai like, "Britney Spears has been admitted again." Like, it was just like crazy. It was crazy. And then I was doing like stories about Spanx. Like, it was just so dumb, but it was so fun because I got to know a whole other side of kind of the entertainment portion of it. But then I remember they sent me out to red carpets and I was interviewing people. I was like, I'm on the wrong side of the rope, honey. Like, I was like, I am on the wrong side. But it was such a great gig and it got me through it. But I remember being out there. I was out there at the studios picketing and I was right there with all those writers in solidarity. And I was a junior WGA member at that time because I'd only done award shows and like stand-up things. So they don't even have that category anymore. I would have been a full one under now. But
I know.
Yeah, so anyway, it was wild though. It was watching people and it was watching people really struggle. And we were about to be on the verge of a recession and it was already starting and it was really sad because you see people who were like, "I can't feed my family," and like it was new media was the big thing back then. Streaming was starting and people didn't, DVDs and all were phasing out and people didn't know how to get money for that. We're on the verge of the same thing. It's like residuals for internationals, but how does streaming residuals work? These mini rooms, it's all these things it's the same energy, honestly. Yeah. And I truly hope there is not a strike. I hope that the studios recognize the value of writers because it affects performers as well.
Everything.
It affects everything, right?
Trickle down.
It does. And so, but I remember thinking this is a really pivotal time. But I remember also thinking, how am I going to pay my rent? So E! News saved me. And then by the beginning of 2009, we were headlong into a recession, and I had $7 to my name. And I was like, all right, we've been broke before, we gonna make it out. And my landlord came by, was like, so you're gonna get evicted. He literally did it like that.
He what? He teased you?
Sing-songed it to me. And I was like, ah! He was like, no, but for real, I just try to like break the ice. You're gonna get evicted. I was like, yeah! And David Allen Greer, two friends of mine recommended me to him. He had a show, Chocolate News, on Comedy Central. And David Allen Greer gave me a job and saved me from getting evicted on Chocolate News. Yeah, I was the White House correspondent. It was like kind of an early Obama translator thing, actually. Key and Peele did not steal it from me. It was not the same. They are geniuses. I did not influence them in any way. But yeah, so that was, there's times, right, where you just have these ups and downs and you don't know where that next thing is coming from, and it's really hard to not be desperate. And even at that time in 2009, it wasn't like I could go work at McDonald's because they were cutting back because the recession was happening. Like, there were just no jobs. So yeah, that was wild. The pipes burst in my apartment and they had to tear out the whole ceiling. Like, it was a bad time. It was a bad time. But we've all been through that, and my story is no different than Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. His production company is called $7 because he got to a point where he had 7 names, like $7 to his name, and then bounced back from that too. So there's something magical about that number. But I think we've all got those stories. But I say that to say that like you can make it at any point. Yeah,
absolutely.
I've been in this business 21 years in August.
It's a marathon.
Yeah, it's a marathon.
It's not a sprint. Okay. Yes. Room full of actors, I assume. Can you walk us through the casting process?
Oh, sure.
My
for
manager
sketch show?
sends me a self-tape. I send it in.
Oh, I thought you meant for sketch show. I do. We don't actually audition.
Okay.
Nobody sent you a self-tape for us, did they? Oh, for the big round. Oh, well, okay, got it. Sorry.
Just because your sister gaslighted you gonna gaslight me?
No, my point was she's like above a self-tape, but she's a star, which they don't even know. I can't talk about it. But anyway, more big things popping. Okay, so people are always in my mentions. First of all, y'all know this, but don't be this person that sees a show announcement come out and be like, how can I audition? We already made it.
Right. It's done.
We literally dropped the trailer today and people are like, sis, how can I audition? I'm like, it's done.
Cool.
We've only ever had 2 auditions. One in season 2, one in season 4. Last year we did. And we asked people to tape, characters, impressions. But that process is heartbreaking for me because this show has shown the world that there are so many talented Black women out there, but we haven't even scratched the surface. I literally was like brought to tears at certain points during the audition process because I am so heartbroken that I cannot hire everyone. There are so many good people, and so this is just a reminder that your excellence doesn't always match up with the job that's available.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't make your excellence anything less. So, I literally wrote like tearful emails to people that I couldn't hire. And they were like, screw you, lady, a check would have been better. But yeah, I think, so our process is different because for guest stars, I just call people. And honestly, I mean, let's be real. You would have been on the show, but we can't fly people in from New York because you thought we had a budget. That was cute.
HBO be pretending.
No. Listen, for sketch, we have a massive budget.
Yeah.
Let me be clear. HBO is extremely generous. But it just takes a lot to make a show, right? People got to get paid. So we just don't have a habit of flying anyone in because we don't have room for it. But also for me, I don't want to fly somebody in for like 4 hours of work. I feel like it's a lot. But, who knows? We may. But I think for me, the guest stars, I just want to give people their flowers, and it's at every level, right? So whether it's me calling Angela Bassett's reps and being like, will she come do a sketch? Or me getting like Kev on stage or like somebody that I love from TikTok or Instagram or whatever, I'm like, yeah, just come. Like, we don't audition for like guest star roles or co-star roles because I'm like, y'all been through that. Like, just come play. Okay. So that's fun, and we've had hundreds of people come through the show, which has been really nice. And I think, for me, it's so weird to be on the other side in a casting room.
Mm-hmm.
I feel so, not bad, but like, I just remember what that was like. And I still get asked to self-tape for stuff, P.S. But like the movie I just did with Eddie Murphy was a straight offer from Reggie Hudlin, who had seen my sketch shows for years when I was performing live, and was like, I just wanted to work with you. And so those relationships you build, even when it's not that time, matter. And that took 20 years to happen, 18 years to happen. And I never thought about it, but I was like, oh, that's dope. Like that groundwork was laid so long ago. So I think it's about being kind to everyone in the process, not kissing people's ass, not being weird, don't send cookies. Again, I'm gonna keep repeating that.
No.
Cookies are weird.
Who sent you cookies?
Listen, people have sent me, you send me cookies? Oh. It's just weird. Like sending people food in this economy, like in COVID, like, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's not COVID. I mean, kind of. But like, I don't know. It's just, it feels thirsty in a weird way. Nobody sent me cookies. But like, wait a minute. Do I know you? Wait, do I know you? You look very familiar to me. Have we met? Not yet. Oh, okay, work. He said, you know me now. With the mask, it's hard for me to tell. And I was gonna be like, pull down your mask, and SAG people were gonna be like, nah. Okay, anyway. So yeah, like just be good. Do you know what I mean? Like showing up and being good and letting people know what you want to do, right? So like I said to Stan Lathan, not unless I have lines, right? I was very clear. He also knew about my Second City background, like all that, like I said, right? So let people know based on your bona fides, even if you don't feel like it's worthy, it is. Whatever you have done. I just hired this 24-year-old TikToker named Demaya Gurley on the show. She's so dope. You know Demaya? She's so dope. She's so dope. She's so good on the show. This is her first gig ever.
Yeah.
And she just stood out. So like, but I didn't get hired at 23. Like that wasn't my path, but that's okay. Like everybody has their path. Yours is not gonna be the same. And at the end of the day, you just don't know what will stand out.
Right.
But it's not cookies. Cookies is weird. Cookies feels thirsty. Like now I've had some people write me a really nice note that I've kept for years, or a really nice note that I remember what they said. Notes are great.
Notes are good.
But
okay,
like
get you some stationery.
Well, get you some stationery.
Stationery.
But like, you know what it is? The people, and I was the one that sent cookies sometimes too. When I did that, I was like, these people are rich. These aren't even good cookies. Like, you know what I mean? Like, rich people don't want that shit. People are sending them stuff all the time.
Right.
What they want is connection. And what they want is to feel like they discovered you, you know? Mm-hmm. And so give them that. Give them that gift.
I like that. Yeah. I like that. Speaking of which, you said you were going to explain the second part.
Oh, yes. Okay,
of
this
the
is so
episode
exciting.
we
Okay.
saw.
So we're gonna release the Manger sketch. This is part of the Holy Trinity. So we've had the Last Supper, the Resurrection, and now the Manger. They all have her in the title. Last Supper, Resurrection. So it's all about these Bible ladies that have been slighted. And absent from that sketch is Ashley Nicole Black. For those of you who watched her on the show, she's gone on to an amazing new show with Vince Vaughn on Apple TV. It's coming out soon. But so Angel Lakita Moore, one of our new cast members, we go back 33 years, and they had an original kind of Bible lady friend group. So that's why this works. But it's part of this Holy Trinity of Bible sketches that we're doing, and we're releasing that one on Easter. So on Good Friday, we're gonna redo the Last Supper, then the Resurrection on Saturday. We're gonna release that on Sunday. So what's happening? So the actor is behind the lens speaking seriously. Obviously, that looks like inside the actor's studio. But I wanted to show it to you guys because it's actually the theme of our interstitials this year. So if you followed the show, there's a story within a story. In the first season, we were trapped in a house.
Yeah.
Black women were the first and only ones to survive a global apocalypse.
Yeah.
And we didn't know the story. What happened, right? There was a cliffhanger at the end of season 1. Season 2, I wake up and I suddenly wasn't in that house, and I was with new people in a warehouse, still at the end of the world, but now with rations. Well, how did we get there? We gave you a clue at the end of the season. We were being watched. You heard a voice on a laptop. We were being watched. That was Dr. Hadassah's voice. Dr. Hadassah in season 3, we see that the women are now trapped in a hotel room. They've got mind control, like nodes on their head, and they wake up, and she's like, this whole time, it's only been you. I've been mind controlling you. All of that stuff was in your mind. I've created this world. I've been running it through Millstone Coffee. If you watch the show and have noticed, Millstone is in everything. Go back and watch for it. You will see it in literally every sketch since season 1. And not every single sketch, but the majority of them. And we've been seeding this for years. And so now what's happening is the world that they live in has not ended, but it's not our world because it's a world that would elect Dr. Hadassah as president. She steps down because Supreme Ramik says women belong in the House, not in the White House. And so she reveals, doesn't reveal anything else there, but like steps down, leaves the women where they are in the hotel room. The door opens and they're free to go out into the world for the first time. And so now in season 4, we get to see what that world means to our cast. Now that they're out in the world did not end with Trump's presidency. And that was my idea in season 1, that Trump was gonna get us killed. So I was like, oh, cool. A place where we get trapped inside the house and can't leave. And then the pandemic hit. I was like, I didn't wanna be right. Because remember, that was 2019. The pandemic happened in 2020. We predicted all of that. So in season 4, what you're gonna see is the characters behind the characters that Dr. Hadassah has created, essentially. So that's why you see Sloan Knopford talking as Mary Magdalene. But then what you're going to find out is how these characters are interconnected and what the master plan has been since season 1 and why. So all of that is gonna come to a big head this year. And I'm really excited for the world to see it. And it works on 2 levels. You can watch it and just laugh, but you can also, I highly always recommend binging the prior seasons before the new one, because all that'll be fresh in your head. And you'll see all of the things that connect. Also, for you guys only, in the background of every single sketch this season, there are so many Easter eggs. We do this a lot. We'll put like movie posters from parodies or stuff we've done in the background. But this year, there's like 6 things on a refrigerator that are from all different, like there's all these like clues and Easter eggs kind of showing you that the world is collapsing on itself. Characters are meeting who have never met. We explain why things happened in other seasons, backstory now, relationships we didn't know characters had. And again, it will still work on the level of like, oh, this sketch is just funny, but it will also work on this higher, larger storyline level. And maybe that's too heady for a sketch show, but I'm like, baby, we're on HBO. Like, let's go.
Hey, let's go.
And I want to give a shout out. 2 of my writers, I think, are here tonight. Amber and Jazz, are you here?
We all at.
Yay! 2 of my really incredible, talented writers who are, this is not news to y'all. Y'all know these stories. But is it crazy to see? Yeah. Yeah.
Was that your first time seeing it?
Yeah, they've seen nothing. They've seen nothing.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
they've seen nothing. So I'm excited. I'm so excited for you guys to see this season. They don't get to see their work. They write and they leave. That's part of what we're fighting for with the WGA too, is that writers just write the room and then they leave and they don't get to be on set.
Like, get out.
We invite our writers to be on set, but half of them are virtual. They live in New York or wherever, the Cayman Islands. I'm messing with her. Her family's from there. She doesn't live there. So and doesn't invite me there, which is very rude. But yeah, so some of our LA writers show up on set, but they're not getting paid. They just get to come for the day and like see it get shot. And we're fighting so that they get more time to become, so they can get the experience to become the producers and showrunners and everything like I had the privilege of being able to do.
Exactly, okay. Yeah. And while the series focuses on Black women, obviously, which I like, talk to me like I'm a white boy from the UK.
Easy. They love it too.
Right.
Well, UK, I don't know, they might not get the references, but US. Actually, no, we're in like 30 countries. Like there are people in Poland watching this show. I'm like, do you get it? They're like, the physical comedy. But yeah, I think, the show is specifically cast and specifically written, but it's universally funny. Comedy is the language that everyone can share. Mm-hmm. If I come into a sketch talking about, what up, I'm 3, like I play this character who's this woman running scams, grown-ass woman, but she gets adopted by this poor sympathetic woman and she's like, what up, I'm 3. Like she tells everyone she's 3 years old. She's clearly not. Grown-ass woman. But she's running this scam on this unsuspecting woman. It's very funny. It's a fun character that we played with last year who comes back this year. But that to me, the references in it and the reasons why she wants a kid are very specifically Black, but the desire to want to have a child, the desire to adopt, the scam running, like all of that is universal.
Yeah.
So even Black Lady Courtroom, it's like we all come in a courtroom and see other Black women and we get excited. But it's like, imagine if you just walk into a courtroom and it's all your friends. Like you get the vibe, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter who you are. And I think it's so dope because I often have people in my mentions who are like, I know this show isn't for me, but I love it. And I'm like, who said it wasn't for you?
Yeah.
Just because I named it a Black Lady sketch show because I don't want y'all to be confused. I don't want people to tune in and be like,
what's happening?
why are there only Black women on the show?
Yeah.
I was like, let's just get that out of the way, right? Let's just get that out of the way. So that's why I did that. Also, there was a great show called The Whitest Kids You Know. If you have not seen the show, please watch the Abraham Lincoln sketch. It's truly incredible. I love it so much. So I'm like, why can't it be that? But I do wonder in hindsight, I'm like, does that stop some white people from watching the show? Because that would be such a shame. Like, they're really missing out. I hope it doesn't.
Well, I think if you're not watching it because it says a Black Lady sketch
You need
show,
to examine some other
exactly.
things. Yes,
Yeah,
that is true.
You also voted for Trump.
Yeah.
So.
Probably true.
Yeah.
Well, I think, no, it's also that like white guilt, like total swing the other way where they're like, that is not mine. I will respect you.
Yes.
My queen. And it's
Yes.
like, just tune in.
I won't even watch it. I
Please
want you to
tune
watch
in.
it.
Please tune in.
Absolutely.
Don't get me canceled for your white guilt. Please tune in.
Basically.
Tune in and tweet.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so what does winning 3 Emmys for the show meant to you?
Well, we were nominated for 13, so it means that 10 of them were wrong.
Hell yeah.
It's dope. It's so cool. Our editors have won twice. Our director won. But we've 2 of our 4 directors have been nominated for the first time for Black women in the history. Our editors, the first women of color team to ever win and be nominated the same year. You know, it's like we set records every time we get nominated. Our art department, all Asian women and Latinx women and Black women, like all these women of color run this show. Every person in power and physical production on the show is a woman of color. And so, it's just really, really dope to me. So what it means is recognition for all of that work that's going on behind the scenes. And it's not for the same category. It's for writing, it's for production design, it's for editing, it's for directing, it's for series, like it's for all the different skills in front of and behind the camera, except, and our guest stars. 3 of our guest stars have been nominated for Emmys. And our main cast has not yet, but I'm always hopeful every year because I'm like, but they're doing all the heavy lifting, God, it's just wild to me. But I know it's stiff competition, and Emmys don't mean you're not doing a good job. Okay. But I think that that's the one that I really would like, and I really want our writers to win. I really obviously want to win series. Okay. But the great thing is to be in those conversations, to be in those gowns, to put Emmy nominee in front of your name is like, it's huge. And all of these Black women will walk away, and all these women of color will walk away saying, I'm an Emmy nominee or I'm an Emmy winner because of this sketch show. And that you cannot take away.
Yeah.
Like when I was introduced, she was like, oh, casual 5-time Emmy nominee. Because I have 5 personally, right, for series and for writing and for, when my production design gets nominated, I don't get nominated. Weird. But that's dope. Like from this kid who grew up in a trailer park in Iowa, that's crazy to me. But it's also like, hell yeah. I've been working for this. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And another acting question. One of my favorite movies that recently came out, no lie, The Drop. I don't know if anyone's seen it.
Did you really?
I don't know if anyone see it.
It's like a little tiny movie on Hulu. It was a fully improvised movie.
What? Okay, so that was going to be my question. And if anyone hasn't seen it,
it's a good acting exercise
Don't look at the blurb of it. Just press play. It's on
don't
Hulu.
do that.
I don't know why they did
call
that.
It a cringe comedy where a woman drops a baby and all things break. I mean, that's true.
I want you to tell them that.
Oh, well, sorry.
Well, anyway, okay, so that was a fully improvised movie.
Fully.
Can you talk to
There was a 4-page
us from the
script.
acting perspective of how that came to you? Are you offer only? Are you sending self-tapes? What's happening?
No, that was offer only.
Oh, you offer only? Okay.
But it was late in the game, so I think Rashida Jones dropped out.
Ow,
but that was fine. I'll take the role. No. So I think...
Listen, this is what they want. This is what they want.
Dead ass. So But it was dope because it's Jillian Bell, Anna Conkle, Jermaine Fowler, Utkarsh and Bukar,
Aparna
Nancherla, so many great people. I'm forgetting a million people. But it was just like all these dope comedians, and we got to go down to Mexico in 2021 and live on a private resort. And I was like, this sounds sick. Because COVID was still, I think the vaccines had just started, but COVID was still like a thing, and it was between seasons. So I was like, bet, let me go do this. We all get down there and get severe E. coli. And we can't go to the hospital because the hospitals are full of COVID patients.
Oh my God.
So we're on IVs in our hotel room and trying to just crawl to the bathroom. Do not recommend that, by the way. Don't get E. coli. Poisoning. So we were all very sick, but we still managed to make this incredible. Then we all got IVs and we were fine. But I think for me, the improv process of making a feature-length movie was really interesting. The director, Sarah Dina Smith, said, here's like a 4-page scriptment, like a treatment that had like scenes and like a couple of lines of dialogue, but not really, it was just like paragraphs. And she was like, okay, so I need you to go on a trust journey with me. And basically we sat down in this cabana at the resort the first day. And she was like, great, so I'm gonna talk to you about the scenes in general. And then I want you guys to go back and work with like the partners in your scenes and kind of like figure out what you wanna do. And like, you guys, I'm gonna give you like surface level backstory, but like you guys create. And it was really fun and we all got really close. We still have an active group text chain 2 years later. And we just really worked together in these close quarters in this crazy isolated resort, like 2 hours from Puerto Vallarta. We were in the middle of nowhere. And like where horses would just be like randomly running by. I mean, it was actually really beautiful, but also there was like no modern conveniences, which I was like, no one told me. So like, you know, toilets, like holes in the ground, like it was wild, but it was really fun. And it was all about us having this kind of vacation from hell at a certain point. So life became kind of imitated art or vice versa at a certain point, but it was really fun. And so we worked together a lot. And then I had a one-woman show performance I had to do in the middle of the film. So I worked with the director specifically on that for a couple days. But as an improviser in short form, like at Second City and IO and all these other places, it was always with like a team. So that helped. But when it came to like improvising monologues and a whole one-woman show, I was like, I gotta write this down. Like, so, you know, I didn't want to rely on my writing though. I wanted to really rely on my performing. So I would like beat stuff out, but I was like, it's not my job. I'm not the writer of this movie. I want to find this as Shauna, as the character I was playing. So that was really interesting. It was really cool. I would recommend doing an improvised project. I would recommend it. And watching the movie, you'll appreciate it much more. Like knowing that there are no lines given to us. There were maybe like, I maybe was given 1 or 2 lines specifically to say because she was like, oh, I need to connect this to the thing that's gonna happen. But other than that, no. And they really let us have the freedom with those characters, and it's a very different character than I play, certainly on Sketch Show, but I think in anything else I've done, it's a really different character. Like, she's kind of this self-assured, she's like an Emmy award-winning actress, but she's also like very, there's some darkness in the undertones, and she's married to a man who's really narcissistic, but she doesn't see it at all. And I always feel like somebody who's married to a like extreme narcissist who's not like miserable, I'm like, oh, well then y'all are 2 peas in a pod.
Absolutely.
So she just approached it from a little bit more of an altruistic thing. But in my mind, right, they always tell you don't play villains as villains, right? So for me, she was more of a, she just saw the world differently. She saw the world differently only through her own eyes, but in a way that she felt made everyone else better. So that was really fun to play with. That was really fun to play with. I always say, my writers know this, what do I say? Give the characters gifts, right? Give them gifts. So we have a title page before each sketch, and it says, you know, they'll write 30s, beautiful, no nonsense. And I'm like, scratch all that. I don't want to know that she's beautiful. Everyone on TV is beautiful. I don't care what her age is. We're all ageless. Also, like, no nonsense, what does that mean? She has an attitude? Like, how about this? Hates birds with a passion, so much so that if she hears one, she becomes murderous.
Yeah.
That is a very specific thing to give a character. They may or may not be a bird in the scene. The scene is not about birds at all. But are they in a park? Mm-hmm. It may not even be in the script. But if you know that thing about that character, it's going to be so much more dynamic. And when the scene has nothing, it could be a breakup scene. But every time she might hear a tweet, it's like, and that is an interesting character to watch. Now I want to watch her. Because you're on the edge of your seat like, uh-oh, what happened? Because I think she got triggered by a bird, but I'm not sure what's going on. But you're on the edge of your seat because you want to participate in watching that performance. So that's what we do on the sketch show, and that's why our characters are three-dimensional, and that's why the characters are interesting. Even the smallest character, they know I beat this into them. Even the smallest character has to have some gift that you've given them. And I call them gifts on purpose because it is a gift. As a performer, you guys know that. If you get no nonsense or that bird thing, which are you gonna choose?
Yeah.
The bird.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's how I feel about cats. So,
oh, wow. That's how cats feel about you. as well.
no, they always rub up on me. Don't go to Greece if you don't like cats.
Oh, that's true. They have a lot.
Oh my
They have a lot
God,
of
so
cats.
many stray cats.
A lot of loose
Okay,
cats.
I have one more personal question for me, but we're gonna open it up to you all to
Right.
see if anyone has questions.
I only have one rule. Please do not ask me for an audition. Please do not pitch your own project. Ask a question that's gonna help you and other people in the room, because this is very valuable time, and I wanna give you gems that will help you in your life.
Yeah, are the microphones set up? Oh, yes, okay.
Work, come
Always
on,
running.
Steps.
My personal question is, I'm working on being an unrelatable rich woman in my life.
Yes, love that.
And I've been doing
I'm working on being very unapproachable.
unapproachable.
I'm too approachable now.
One of my recent unrelatable things was that I bought something from the Andre Leon Talley Christie's auction.
Wow, what?
Yes.
What did you get? Is it the necklace?
No, no, this is costume jewelry.
All right,
I got a Fendi bag and I got a case
Stop.
that has his initials on it.
Lauren McGee, where are you? Hi, why didn't you tell me this was happening? I don't know. Did you know about this? No. Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry, that's my fashion. That's one of my dearest friends in the whole world. But we talk about Andre. We were reading the book together,
Oh my
texting
God,
each other.
it was
Yeah, okay.
insane. It was
That's
insane.
fantastic. Okay, text me pictures.
Yes. What's something you've done recently or lately that's unrelatable?
Very unrelatable. I will tell you right now. Our new poster is a take on The Sugar Shack by Ernie Barnes. If you
Yes.
have not seen it, please
Yes.
go to my Instagram. It's the most incredible key art we've ever had for the show. And shout out to HBO. They fucking crushed it. And Questlove, he came up a lot tonight. Amir texted me and goes, I know we're 1,000 pieces, and I'm not gonna tell y'all because you said I'm relatable. He said, I know who owns 1,000 pieces of Ernie Barnes's work, and some of them are for sale. I just bought one. It tripled in price overnight. I'm gonna connect you with the people. And the woman texted me within an hour and was like, I'm gonna talk to you later this week. Very unrelatable.
Love it.
But I really wanna buy something from him. Also, I'm like a budding baby art collector, and I bought this picture of Miles Davis in a boxing gym from the 60s that Kwame Braithwaite photographed, and he just passed.
Yeah.
Literally over the weekend. And I was like, it's about to be worth a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
May he rest in peace. He was 85. He lived a great life. And now I will live a great life because there you go. Very unrelatable.
Love it.
Yeah,
Thank
we're
you.
rich now.
Yes,
It's great. $7, no more.
There we go.
But my goal is everyone around me gets rich too. That's the
Exactly.
point.
I want
We all get
everyone
rich. We all get
Go to
rich.
Christie's auctions.
That's right. I love that for you.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna ask you later how much you pay.
Absolutely. My mom tried to ask.
Yeah.
We'll start here.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here.
2 quick questions.
Yeah.
What's your best moment you ever had so far in your life?
Whoopi Goldberg this morning told me that I had changed comedy. For the little girls that were the way, because I told her how she had changed my life. And she said, well, for the little girls now, you're that for them. And because you have an all black women writer's room, there's not even an all white women writer's room in
Right.
hard comedy. She was like, look what you've given them. You did that. That changed my life. Today. Today.
On today.
On today.
The second question, please forgive me because my cookies are coming in on Monday.
I don't want your cookies. Hashtag, when y'all tweet about this, hashtag no cookies.
No
okay?
cookies.
Promise me. No one will know it but us. It'll be
Yeah.
great.
Well, they're gonna think it means something else. So.
Oh, you know what? Also that. Don't sleep around in the business. Don't do it. Not in the business. Sleep around elsewhere. Yes? Okay.
One right here.
Hi, my name is Murphy. I'm 24. I just graduated with my BFA in acting.
Yes.
Thanks. My friend Chelsea here is 23. She's about to get her MFA in acting.
Heard.
So, very much beginners, babies in the whole process. I'm going through something now where I'm like struggling with how to really communicate with my reps, just because I spent so long.
We have reps.
Right. That's great.
That's half the battle, but
Thanks.
yes.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm very blessed and privileged to have that. And
No,
because
they're
of
blessed and
that,
privileged to have you.
see? Thank you. Thank you. That's really my question. I'm struggling with like how to, I guess, feel grounded and empowered enough to really talk to these big agents, because they're also white and the one black one I have is on the other side of the country. I don't know how to like actually feel like I'm on their, level of communication, even though,
Why are you making you feel that way?
I think about this every day at this point.
What have
So
you told yourself?
what I've told myself is that I'm talented as hell. I'm deserving of the fact that, I have reps. I don't know.
Making you feel that way, or are you making?
They don't communicate with me. They don't reach out to me. Obviously, they have so many other clients that they're working for.
I'm making excuses for them. Are they making you feel that way, or are you making you feel that way?
It might be me. It might be me.
Okay. So what have you communicated to them to make you not feel that way?
I reach out. I feel like I communicate like I'm somebody who has like been very educated.
They
like,
know that they signed you.
Okay.
What did they say?
Sometimes they don't respond.
Because they know that. When they signed you, why did they say they signed you?
Because they saw somebody who was different, especially in my class. I'm black, I'm queer.
Yeah.
And I'm like very like I have presence when I speak, when I perform. So they saw something special.
Not giving you that you need.
Work, reassurance.
They're not there for reassurance.
Okay.
That's not their job. Their job is to do 10% of the work because they take 10% of the money.
Okay. Yeah.
An agent has never gotten me a job, not once. Not once.
That's my agents that got me nothing.
An agent has only negotiated a deal
Yep.
once I got the job.
Yep.
An agent has sent me on an audition that was not meant for me. An agent has told me that they wouldn't submit my packet because they didn't have a diversity position. An agent has told me they're not looking for your look. An agent has also told me you're one of the top 25 comedy clients we have. And we deserve to work harder for you than anyone else before you has. So I've heard the good and the bad from agents, right? These are things I've heard all within the scope of my career. An agent has never told me you're good at what you do. They've just said, we're proud of that piece of work, but it was after the work. It's easy to be proud after you've done it, right? I made my own work for many years, and you have the reps so that you're legitimate when you get the job offer. And I think you have to think about it like that. I think you also cannot wait around on auditions, ever. You came from a theater program, be out there working with your peers in whatever way that is. Don't ever think you're better than a job. I did the shittiest plays. I did the shittiest sketch groups. I did everything. I was performing 8-10 shows a week for no money for many, many years. So don't look at them for reassurance. They're not your parents. They're not your babysitters. And they don't owe you anything except to negotiate a great deal for you. And your first deals will not be great. They won't. And that's okay too. It's about you learning in the process. They already know you're good. They don't sign people out of pity.
Right.
So many people out here are working so hard to get reps. So hard. And they're so talented. And they cannot get a rep to save their lives. I'm not saying feel lucky that they signed you. You deserve it. But you've got to do the work. And you will.
Do it, yeah.
Thanks.
You will. But they do need to answer your fucking emails. I think the reason they're not is because you're like, but I'm good and I did this. And they're like, we know. So the email that they need to hear from you is, I'm in a new play. You guys should come out. I left tickets with your assistant. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the only email they need to get. Yeah.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
I'm a playwright, and I want to say that your work has kind of kicked off a renaissance. People are going to say that.
Oh.
A black renaissance, especially on screen and on stage. I wanted to know, being a playwright, if you were to look at somebody trying to get into the industry, what are shows or things that you think that people need to study to get better at the craft?
Oh. As a writer or performer?
As a writer.
Would you say?
All of August Wilson.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's a
For
playwright. He knows
for
August Wilson.
television.
Yeah.
On television.
Yeah, someone trying to get into the business.
I always say follow the career paths of people you want to emulate. And if there is no one, then have an amalgamation of things. But I think what you're drawn to, when you have these meetings, a lot of times the people, they say, what are you watching? And it's because they want to know what your sensibilities are. Playwrights are great. Playwrights are the salt of the earth writers who have to do the real work. On TV, I just get to write it and a crew puts it together. But playwrights have to do the work. And you have to connect with an audience who has to pay a lot of money, 8 shows a week, So I think that that's dope. I think that you have to find your style, your voice, your tone. You can liken that. You can have comps. We call them comps in the business. It's like this kind of show, or it's like this kind of show. But I don't think when Donald Glover was pitching Atlanta, or when, God, I don't know, Mitch Horowitz was pitching Arrested Development, random things I'm bringing up, but there were no comps. There were no things like it. So they couldn't say, oh, I want to make something like this, because there was nothing like that. Black Lady Sketch Show, there was nothing like it. So I just had to say I want to create a grounded, a narrative sketch show where Black women live grounded experiences in a magical reality. We have one foot on the ground, you'll be able to relate to it, but we're going to take it to a whole nother level of magic you've never seen. It's going to be cinematic, it's going to be gorgeous. We're going to tell stories, there's going to be recurring characters. I put all those things together from all the other sketch shows I had seen, little pieces. I took little pieces of things. So I think if you don't have comps or shows that you would gravitate towards, it's about finding your voice through all the pieces of things that you do. When I created my late night show, I said I'm going to take pop culture and politics, put them together. Nobody was doing that in the way that I did it, right? And I'm going to run them down. I'm going to have a big screen behind me, and I'm going to take down the stories. ESPN had a similar format, but comedy didn't, right? And since then, people have adopted that in comedy. So long story short, I think you've got to emulate the people whose career you want, not to mimic them, but to follow the same sort of paths that they took, and to emulate that style, but find it in your own way. And I found my way because I wrote for other people for many years. And so I didn't have my own voice. Larry Wilmore said to me, you've got to find your own voice. You have a lot of opinions, but you're so used to mimicking other people, you don't know how to say your own thing. And he trained me over the years to do that and set me up for that late night show. So take the pieces of things and find that whole that's yours, and bring that into meetings and pitch that to people as your calling card, and I think that's how you carve out a niche.
Yeah.
Is that helpful?
The one thing that Donald Glover did say about Atlanta was that he wanted to make a black version of Twin Peaks. So,
But it's
and
not.
You could,
It's
but
not
you,
even.
the
That's
bottle,
so weird.
but the
It's
bottle
not.
episodes to
The
me
bottle
are.
episodes for sure.
Bottle episodes
But
are.
it's so uniquely
It's like
his
when
own.
he took
Yeah.
it to those next seasons, I could see that.
Yeah, I
vision.
get that. I get
Yeah.
that too. I get that too. But he still was able to carve his own corner even on top of that, which is so dope.
Oh, hi. How's it going?
Great.
Thank you so much for doing this. This has been awesome.
Oh, good.
I think your journey is like so inspiring. It's so cool, and I think you're like geniusly fucking funny. It's
Thank you.
coming from a white boy from Queens. I love
go.
it.
You
that's
have to qualify it. Everyone's opinion is valid.
I love it. I love it. But also you creating your own stuff and being a producer. I'm an actor and a filmmaker. I'm 23. I'm from New York. And I started a very small production company like a few years ago, like just a small LLC to create content under.
Yep.
And we want to start like a cool sketch series on TikTok and stuff.
Yep.
As a producer, as like that sort of business side, because I feel like the business is just as important as knowing the art form. What do you think is like your biggest tip or something that you've learned
Don't be
being a
afraid to do
producer?
anything. Don't be afraid to do anything. When I talk to people your age, honestly, and I'm just slightly older.
I don't believe you for a second.
Thank you. I'm so young. But no, it's the great thing about me is like I look so young, but I know so much.
Same.
No, yeah. You're like, is she joking? You'll never know. No, I think what I find is that people, because of TikTok, I love TikTok. I'm obsessed with TikTok. But I think because of it, people think you have to be, and YouTube, right? YouTube made so many young billionaires so fast, and like Vine and Snapchat and all these things. But I was just talking to a 22-year-old who's he had the #1 song in the country 2 years ago, and now he's like, now what? And I'm like, here's the thing, you don't have to be famous that fast.
Right.
Also, you don't want to be, in my mind, you don't want to be famous that fast. You don't know enough. People will take advantage of you, they'll steal your money, let all of those people be cautionary tales. So I think what I find though is because they want to be successful and rich so fast, successful and rich do not always go hand in hand, by the way. Because they want that and they want it so fast, they will often not take like a PA job or an internship or whatever, because they're like, or when they are in it, they come into the interview, this is my pet peeve, remember this. When I interview assistants or interns or anybody like that, they say to me, I'll say, well, why do you want this job? And they say, well, I just feel like I can learn a lot. Why would I hire you to learn a lot?
Right.
What are you giving me? I'm paying you. Like, you should want to learn a lot. That should be a goal. But you should say things like, I want to make your job easier. And in the process, learn by watching you. It's fine to say you want to learn, but give me some incentive to hire you. Because if you just want to learn a lot, when I ask you to go run this errand or do the thing that's not as glamorous, you're going to be like, I'm not learning doing this. You know, you need chips from CVS. Like, that's not helping me learn. But like, but also it is. I did plenty of those kinds of things for people as I was coming up. But I'm also a good boss who's like, what do you want to do? I'm going to help you shadow those people. I'm going to help you get there. But a lot aren't. So I think you're doing everything right. I think you just have to be willing to do the things that other people don't want to do to get to the places that other people don't get to go. And I never thought I was better than any job. I never did. Even when I was at Chick-fil-A, I was like, welcome to Chick-fil-A, how may I help you? I'm a Chick-fil-A sandwich. You know, I just never thought I was better than anything. I still don't. I tell my writers, shoot me if I'm lying, I say, hire me. When y'all become showrunners, hire me. And they're like, you're never gonna be a staff writer again. And I'm like, you don't know my life.
Ups and downs,
baby,
backs and
you
forths.
don't know my life.
Marathon.
And I make those connections. I network up and I network down. Like, I'm like, no, baby, like, hire me. Like, yeah, I just, you never know where it can go. All right.
My question is about difficult conversations, right? So if you're kind of piggyback off of the first question, you're with an agency, they're great, but you know it's time to move up because there are, levels of agencies.
Sure.
Some agencies probably can't get you into series regulars or guest stars. Or if you look at their clients, you're like, how many people are doing that? And you're on IMDb and you're like, I don't.
All agents have the same access to casting directors.
Yeah, but do they have the same relationships?
Okay. I think that's less valuable than you think.
Okay.
But that's just my opinion. But go ahead.
Okay. So, because you talked about knowing your worth and knowing like what you bring to the table.
Yep.
What's a difficult conversation you had to have about like, okay, no, I know I need to level up and you have to part ways from where you are?
So I understand this because I've been there as an actor at different agencies being like, oh, they not just give me the things I need. They don't have the access. Now, I will say if they're setting up like general meetings with like people at the agency and that kind of thing, that's good. But most agencies actually have access. I think I was wrong in my perception about some of my earliest agencies. I think I just wasn't ready, to be honest. But if you're booking things and you're like, or you've seen success and they're not commodifying that or using that to your advantage, that's one thing. But I think we give too much credit for agents to be able to craft careers. Like, you craft your career. You really do. But I've had to have difficult conversations. No conversation is difficult if you can get rid of your anxiety around it. Mm-hmm. So for me, the way I get rid of my anxiety around it is to stick to facts only, no emotions. And if you ever start to say, I feel, erase it and go back to the facts. I stick to the facts and I look at the facts and I put the facts on one side and I put the emotions on another. And if it's all emotion and only two facts, I rethink it. Because that's me, not them, right? In whatever conversation we're having. But if it's all facts, like not answering your emails is not okay. But if you're blowing them up trying to like prove your worth, I wouldn't answer it either. Cause that, you know, but if you're genuinely like, I have 2 tickets and no one answers, that's a problem, get rid of them. But, or just ask to be moved to somebody else or come in for an in-person meeting. I do an in-person meeting once a year with my reps. And now I know in the age of virtual, like we used to do that all the time, but now I would demand it. Say I want to meet once a year and just regroup and have ideas. That's really what I was asking. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Something to gauge. But so I had agents that sent me on 1,000 auditions. I booked like 3 or 4 jobs. Literally 1,000. I stopped auditioning at 1,000. I said, oh, maybe I'm not good at this. And self-tapes is just totally different too. But yeah, I think get rid of the anxiety, separate fact from emotion, and evaluate it, and then talk to somebody you really trust who has no investment in your career, and honestly, who doesn't know the business. And present the facts and facts only. Okay. And if they see it like, yeah, that's a problem, then you're on the right path. But if they're like, that doesn't really feel that deep to me, but it has to be somebody who's not like emotionally invested in all of your stuff. And that's hard to find. But you're that person. You can be that person for yourself. So I think sometimes what happens is stuff just ain't clicking. It ain't popping. It ain't happening. It's very easy to blame the agent. And I'm not here shilling for agents, by the way. I'm not an undercover agent. Like, I just know that I've been there and I've been at that place where I'm like, they're not working for me. I gotta go. Now, mind you, when my literary agent told me I had submitted a script for Parks and Rec, and it was good. Like, I reread it recently. It was really funny. And my agent told me weeks later, I said, what, did we not hear anything back from Parks and Rec? He's like, oh, it wasn't a diversity position, so I didn't send it in. He was fired.
Right.
There was one fact, and that fact was enough.
Now, did you fire him via phone or email? No, I'm like specifically asking because I recently fired agents via email. So I'm like, I didn't have to have the difficult conversation.
Well, yeah, I think I called him and then followed up with an email because you do need to put it in writing.
Yeah.
I think I called him. Mm-hmm. It definitely wasn't in person.
Yeah.
But I did tell him why. Mm-hmm. And what could he say? So if you're in a situation like that, that's pretty obvious, right? But I feel like yours is more of a gray area where like, I just need to level up and I don't know that they can get me there. It's a tough call, but bet on yourself. And if you do feel like, here's the other thing you can do. You can, on the slide, start meeting with other agents. So that's an easy transition. I found someone else I'm gonna go with. But if you find yourself agency hopping with the same result, it's not them. It's you. And that's a hard truth. And it has been me. And that's a hard truth. But then what do you need to improve? And it can't just be, oh, the industry doesn't like my type. That's not true. The industry didn't like my type. I wrote something that was my type. And that's the hard part. People make it seem like it's easy. It's not easy. It's not easy. Nothing about this is easy. And anyone who tells you it is lying.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might get a lucky break, but I guarantee you, no part of it is going to be easy. I used to be sitting in my acting classes in LA, and I'll be like, if only I could become a series regular, everything would be easy. Yeah. Then I became a series regular, and I was like, I got to work how many hours? How many scenes? I have to deal with what difficult dude I have to kiss in this scene that I don't have to meet? So it only becomes harder. And at the level I'm at now, it's only even, every year gets harder. Every year gets harder. But you also start to really value like that confidence builds because you're like, look what I did. I tweeted recently, my 6-year-old self would be blown away by what I've done. And not me today, me even when I was still struggling, my 6-year-old self would still be like, holy cow, like, you know what I mean? So just give yourself some grace for that, you know? Don't cut people off too soon, but don't stay on too long either.
All right, so I'm from Iowa too. Shout out.
Kirk, sorry.
Yep. So specific question. So when you're either producing or selling something and you own your IP and all that stuff, what's your deal breakers? What do you not give up?
Give up everything.
Give up everything. Or I mean, not give up. I'm talking about like somebody, they said like, you know, you keep the US something and don't do something. I don't know. There's like, is there anything that you...
Sign the fucking contract.
Well, of course you signed the contract.
It
But I'm saying,
doesn't
is there any deal breakers?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Sign the deal. They're all going to be bad at first. Sign it. Now, if you've done a million things, that's a different conversation, right? That's a different conversation. But IP, there is no fucking IP unless you wrote a book. You wrote a book or a
song.
play or a song. You think I have any IP in this business? I don't have any IP. Do you think I own a Black Lady sketch show? HBO owns that shit.
Yeah.
They own me. I'm in an overall deal.
Yeah.
I can't.
The studio owns you.
Jump. I cannot jump out of a plane because a company owns me,
Yeah.
and I'm happy that they own me.
Yeah.
I am very rich because they own me.
Say that.
Yes. Don't worry about the contracts. I tell people this all the time. People are like, oh, they're gonna steal my screenplay if I send it to somebody to read. No, they're fucking not. And somebody else wrote that screenplay 10 times over. Who cares? They're gonna buy it because they like you.
Yeah.
You get in the door and create that stuff. Don't worry about the contract. Get a good lawyer. Like, don't sign something crazy. But nobody's making the TLC type of deals anymore. Pebbles isn't out to get your money. Like, nobody's making.
Oh, Lord.
We have unions. No one's making those deals. Any union contract you sign, you are protected. You will learn other things, and I can school you guys on all the nuance of things and how to get more back end and whatever. Doesn't matter. Sign the contract, get the job, demand more as you grow and as you learn. But up front, don't worry about it. And I get frustrated because I see young artists or people who are early in their careers really get hung up on that stuff. And they will talk themselves. I have a development company. They will talk themselves out of a deal because they're like, I don't know, I feel like I should be getting more. You're lucky to be getting anything in this climate. And I'm not saying just be grateful. I'm not saying that. Do not be humble. Do not do any of that. Talk your shit. Brag on your shit. Do your shit. But at the end of the day, know what makes business sense. And it is all a stepping stone to the next thing.
Yes, to get the next gig.
I signed on to my first scripted television show as a paper team. What an abomination. For 2 years, I had to be on a paper team with a man I have never met before in my life. And I made half my salary. I made less than the writer's assistant after taxes and commissions on that show for 2 years. And I did that because I was like, I need to be a full member of the WGA and I need my foot in the door. I would never take that contract today, but I did it to get to where I am today. Do you know what I'm saying? Don't worry about all that, for real. Get a lawyer to read the contract, don't just sign stuff blind. But no one's really out, they're not out to get you like that. They're really not. The only thing they're gonna screw you on is like paying you like a minimum or something, like WGA minimum. But the WGA sets those minimums, so it's still a decent amount of money.
Yeah.
Yell it on the way out.
Yes.
Hi.
She'll yell it at you.
Thank you for actually bringing that up. My name is Abigail Williams-Joseph. I'm a second-year MFA student at Columbia, and I'm studying theater management and production. So I wanted you to specifically speak on why it is important for actors to have communication with their unions and to read the information of what's going on in their contract so that they can make informed decisions. So thank you for speaking on that. You answered my question.
Great.
Robin Thede, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Go kill it.
Yes.
Hey, and what do I always say? Hire me, because y'all gonna be more famous than me. Thank you guys so much.